In this video, we're going to learn about circumference, how to find it, how to find other things given it, and that's about it. So first, where does the formula come from? Well, if you're watching this after our in-class investigation, you will know that if you measured any circle circumference and then measured that same circle's diameter, the ratio of the circumference divided by the diameter will equal the same number every time. And that number, if you've sat in an American or any math class, for the last few years, you've probably heard of it before, and that number is pi, which is just a constant, which is approximately 3.14. And mathematicians and people in general noticed a long time ago that the ratio between any circle's circumference divided by the diameter was going to come out to the same number every time. It's really helpful to know because knowing that constant, given a diameter, we could find the circle's circumference without having to measure it, and vice versa. Also, same applies with radius. So, let's start off. So there's the formula right there. Circumference equals diameter times pi. So you might also see it like this. Circumference equals d pi. Or you might also see it circumference equals 2 pi r. Because we know that 2 and r, two radiuses, equal one diameter. Or you might also see it in form of the pi formula. Pi equals circumference divided by the diameter. All of these are equal though. So whatever one you feel more comfortable with, go for it and use it. So let's try to use the formula right now. Start off with a straightforward problem where you're given a radius and asked you to find the circumference. So knowing that we have a circle with radius 10.5, that would mean that the diameter would have to be double that, 2 times 10.5, which is 21. Now, oftentimes, I or whoever's testing you or assessing you or a question will ask you to find the circumference in terms of pi, which means it's less work. Most students think that leaving something in terms of pi is something they don't look forward to. It's more work, but it's really just not doing the times 3.14. You leave the pi there, but leaving it in terms of pi is good because you get an exact answer, and also you can look at the circumference in terms of pi and figure out what the diameter of that circle is. So, if I were finding this circumference in terms of pi, my answer would just be 21 pi. And I'm done. Now, in red, if it said to find the circumference and round to the nearest decimal place, meaning don't leave it in terms of pi, we would actually do 21 times 3.14. Or if you have the pi button on your calculator, that works fine too. But either one is okay. So as a decimal, the answer would be 6.594. So either answer is okay. It's just you have to pay attention to what the problem is asking. If it says in terms of pi, you do the green check mark. If it says in terms or as a decimal or doesn't need to be an exact answer, then you leave it as a decimal like that. So let's try another one. We have circumference equals 25 pi, find the radius. So this is what I was talking about before. If you're given a circumference in terms of pi, it's nice because we know that circumference equals diameter times pi, so the number in front of pi would have to be the diameter. So we know that diameter equals 25. Knowing that the diameter is 25, if we divide 25 by 2, since two radiuses fit inside a diameter, we get that the radius is 12.5. And that would be our final answer. Now let's say the circumference was given to us not in terms of pi. So it said circumference equaled 78.5, find the radius. Well then, what we would do is set circumference equal to the circumference formula, which is diameter times pi, and then solve for diameter. And once we know the diameter, we know we could cut that in half by dividing, because two diameters fit in a radius. So we would find the diameter by solving for d, and dividing both sides by pi. So then on your calculator, you would type 78.5 divided by 3.14, and you get 25 is the diameter, which means the radius also, again, has to be 12.5. So just one extra step if the circumference is given to you as a decimal. But remember, you can always divide pi out by just dividing it by pi, giving you the diameter. Let's try one more. Now, this problem says, a dinner plate fits snugly in a square box with perimeter 48 inches. What's the circumference of the plate? So, anytime you're given a word problem like this, and no picture is provided, draw one so you can figure out what you need to do. So, we have a dinner plate, so we'll draw a circle to represent the dinner plate, and it fits snugly in a square box. So, the box the sides of the square that make up the box, I didn't draw it perfectly, but these 4 points on the circle should lie tangent to those sides of the square, meaning that the plate fits right up against the sides of the box. And it has a perimeter of 48 inches, so since it's a square, we know that all the sides are equal. Since the perimeter is 48 inches, each side length is going to be 48 inches divided by 4, since there's 4 equal sides. So we know that each side length is 2. So looking at it as the side length of the square, each side length is 12, Looking at it as a side length of a square, we know that each side of the square is 12. But since the square plate fits snugly in the box, we know that the diameter of the plate is 12. So knowing the diameter of the plate helps us find the circumference very easily by just doing diameter times pi. So your answer is 12 pi. And again, if they asked you to put it as a decimal, then you would do 12 times 3.14 on your calculator, and you get 37.68. Alright, that's about it. I hope this video was helpful, and have a good one.